It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendo. Thanks a lot for joining us. We have a lot to talk about, but we're going to be starting off the show today talking about security. A lot of that has been in the front burner, especially since the NSAS protests commenced and held the nation to a standstill. Of course, culminating in the unfortunate incidents in Lekki on the 20th of October. We have heard several versions of testimony from members of the security forces, and yesterday, I believe, the Nigerian Army did confirm that they were there. They came there as well with both live and rubber bullets. Still not sure who fired the shots and what events exactly transpired on the day. But I'm joined here now by Adebayo Obatola, who's a security expert. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of skepticism from Nigerians, especially since the protest happened both with the police, with the Nigerian army, and a lot of the changing narratives that we've seen from members of the Nigerian army seems to get people even a little more cautious. Do you agree that those fears are valid from Nigerians?
Yes, they are very valid. I mean, if you are living in a country where things are done and then nobody takes actual responsibility for these things, then, I mean, it's a serious cause for worry.
Yeah.
You know, and considering how the protests went, for me, I think my own personal opinion, I mean, we should have capped it at 4 days. I mean, anything that goes more than 4 or 5 days in Nigeria, we all know how it's, ends, security-wise. And there was just a whole lot of fears, at that time, from different people.
Yeah. So capped it, are you talking about government should have met the demands and found a way to resolve this, or people should have just left the streets? Because when something is that organic, which was what it looked like,
yes,
how do you put a stop to it from the side of the protesters? So are you saying maybe government should have be more proactive?
Yeah, I think government could have been more proactive, and I think they made some mistakes. Like, for example, when you say end SARS, at least that was met, but the immediate activation of SWAT, I think that already angered people again on the third day. Another issue again is while the protest was going on, I think in some states there were some still issues of brutalization, which is the same thing that they were protesting for. So that's also followed. And then I think the third was, you see, the people that were leading the protest, even though there's no known leader, like they say, are kind of people I would call the okay people in Nigeria. You cannot really control the people who are very poor, the people who do not have a source of livelihood, the people who are just going through a whole lot. So I think at the end of the day, the number of people who are going through a whole lot outnumbered the people who had legitimate reasons for protesting.
Yeah. And then things snowballed from there. But let's cross over now to, we have another guest joining us, Colonel Yomi Dare, I believe from our Abuja studios. If you can hear me, sir, how are you doing?
Great, Ebuka. Thank you very much, and it's a very good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much for joining us. I want to go straight into it and still talking about, the Nigerian army, because talking about trust and just how a lot of Nigerians have become very skeptical, especially with the changing narrative that we seem to have heard from the Nigerian army. It started off, of course, with the complete denial of even being there on the 20th of October and up until yesterday now when we've heard the testimony from the spokesperson saying that they were there, they also had live bullets and rubber bullets, but that they did not fire any shots at the protesters. Considering how the stories continue to change, where does this leave you and other Nigerians, you believe, with regards to trust with our security operatives?
Thank you very much, Ebuka. One thing I'd like to say here is that it is a common knowledge as we speak that this matter is before a judicial commission, and I believe this is a body of very competent, responsible Nigerians who are looking into what has really happened, and they are still studying things. So I'll just advise here at this point in time that we allow this matter and wait until we get the outcome of the judicial commission into the incident that took place at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos on the 20th of October. So that's what I'd just like to say for now, because again, I'd like to say here that there's no perfect fix anywhere. The Nigerian army or the military, as we speak, still remains the bastion of any lasting democracy. So we must try as much as possible to respect our military and to trust our military. I think it will not do us any good if we continue to flog this matter. I believe that we should be patient and wait for the outcome of the Judicial Commission that is already investigating this matter. So that's all that I'd like to say. But other than that, I am really prepared to go into other security discuss this afternoon. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. I don't think it can be overflowed because, I mean, people allegedly were killed on the day. So it's only fair that Nigerians are concerned and continue to try to understand what exactly happened on the day. But let's move on. Still talking about things around the NSAS protest. I don't know what happened in Abuja, but with Lagos, there was a noticeable disappearance, of security operatives days after the protest occurred. There was looting and there was all of that. And even up until today, most areas will tell you that police stations are completely deserted. And there just seems to be a feeling that things are not back to normal yet. Knowing that these are usually very tense times across the country, the Ember months, Christmas is around the corner. How do you see things shaping up this year as the year winds down?
Yes, I think that should be the concern of all. Other than the unfortunate event that took place with the NSAS saga, usually at this point in time, at this period of the year, there's usually security concern. Because for obvious reasons, you have, the people who traditionally would like to travel to their various, local communities to spend the Christmas, the Yuletide period with their families, in their towns, communities, and villages. And then, of course, you also find those who would want to also go out of their way to want to display that they've also made some things for themselves, as maybe from the cities. Now, as we speak, it's a common knowledge that there has been a lot of things happening. And of course, it's more worrisome because with the experience of the protests and the mayhem that was unleashed, because even the policemen were not left out of this. A lot of them, casualties were recorded. A lot of police stations were burnt down. A lot of facilities, structures, were destroyed. Then, of course, we are also aware that in a place like Edo State, prisons were attacked and, prisoners were let loose, and a lot of them are outside there, So almost every day, almost every, hour, you find one heinous crime or the other. So it's really worrisome. It's very worrisome. What I'd just like to say is that we have a lot of work at hand, and we cannot shy away from this. It's high time that especially the various state governors, they have to take charge with their security committees and teams, down to the local government level, and deploy resources, both human and material resources, such that people will enjoy some kind of safety and feel comfortable, during this period. But at the same time, honestly, we cannot all sleep with two eyes, because security is everybody's business, should be everybody's business, and must be everybody's business.
All right. I'll come back to you now, Kona Yemidari. Let me, Adedayo, I hear what he's saying, but the governors, state governors, continue to give the excuse that security is under the exclusive list, is the responsibility of the federal government. How do we start to have these conversations? We're seeing constant stories about things happening on the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway. Lagos, like we said, has been pretty much unsafe for a number of days now. The Northeast is still having its issues. The Middle Belt is still going through all of this. December is fast approaching. Even people going from Lagos to the east are complaining about, robberies and all of that. So there's a little too much happening, and people don't seem to know where to find the answers right now.
Yeah, I think it's time for us to start looking at the community or state policing. But in looking at the community or state policing, for me, there are certain things that we need to put in place. If not, it will just end up like the state's INEC or the state's electoral stuff. The governors or within the Southwest region or any of the regions needs to start discussing their security and how to manage themselves. The truth about it is, the police at the federal level is very hard to manage. I mean, sometimes you drive, and then most of the times, again, people in a lot of young people actually are not very well traveled. So most times they can't really discuss, some of these things. For example, if you're driving from Sokoto to, say, from Zamfara to Sokoto, I mean, you have just massive land on a single road, one-lane road. No police. Maybe you just find immigration checkpoints, checking people coming from outside the country on the road. Finish. That's all. So most times there's no police presence. If you drive from Lagos to, say, Benin, there's close to 25 checkpoints of different security agencies. But if you drive from Abuja to Goso, for example, Zamfara, you find maybe just Abuja-Kaduna Expressway where you find SAS, and after then, that's it. Not really security present. So it's almost like they put more pressure on one side, and then there's no pressure on the other side.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I really don't know. Maybe there's so much. It's something that I've really thought about. Maybe there's so much travel that goes on this side, on this other side, or maybe they just don't want to stress the people on the other side. But
I mean, there's a conversation about the fact that there's a lot of money to be made here from checkpoints.
From this side,
because there's a lot more activity. But that's conversation for another story. And of course, you've mentioned the state police there. People have always said the National Assembly we have today is almost not willing to have that conversation, also because of the skepticism of how state governors would handle things. But there's also not an intentional, uptick in the number of policemen. We have very weird ratios. I think it's one policeman to almost 4,000 or 400, 400 Nigerians, I think so, which almost seems impractical. How do we, if we're not going to start talking about state police, why are we not doing enough with our federal police?
So I think police, they need to recruit more people. And then most importantly, I don't know why they're not looking at that direction. There's what they call spy police. So a lot of people go through this course. People like you and I, go through the course and actually graduate and pass with different ranks. While they will not come up with something to say, okay, if you're willing to be absorbed into the Nigerian police now as a normal, regular staff, you can come. I mean, there's a lot of people. So you find these people, they are actually police officers banded by the same law, but they are drivers, they are bodyguards, they are private security as against joining the security.
Yeah.
Then you find one honorable with 50 policemen. He has maybe 10 in his house, 10 in his constituency office, 10 in Abuja. Why? 50 policemen, one. I mean, I just got back from Kenya, and part of the discussions there is, having to see people then withdraw police from a lot of their government officials. When you have 15,000 policemen escorting money just on a daily basis. So they are doing all of those changes, and I think it's time for us to start doing the same thing here.
Yeah. And just be more deliberate. Colonel Yemidari, let me come back to you. I mean, every time we have a security conversation, state police continues to come up. Everybody seems to think that's the way forward. But from the government side of things, we don't see just any sort of eagerness, to have that conversation. Why, and is that really the answer?
Thank you very much, Ebuka. Well, you can see me smiling because the community policing, state policing, I think that's just the way to go. We have been playing ostrich with this, whether we like it or not. We just have to face the reality, you know. And aside that, let me just quickly, you know, go into this area. Aside that, because my colleague over there spoke about, you know, a retinue, people, you know, officials, high government officials or politicians moving about with a retinue of policemen. And yet you say there are no policemen, you know, to perform security duties for the citizens who are really, who rightly deserve protection, you know. I think that the Inspector General of Police should put his feet on the ground and do this once and for all. Because we have private security outfits who can provide good security for people, you know, because these policemen that are attached to all these government officials, you know, or politicians, these people are paid by the state. Notwithstanding that, of course, I believe that most of these politicians and the government officials must be giving them extras too. And of course, they'll probably will be enjoying that like this. But the truth again is that the ordinary citizen is suffering. You know, people are left, you know, vulnerable, you know, and the hoodlums, you know, they are out there, they are unchained. So there's need, first and foremost, to withdraw these security men and let them go back to their legitimate duties, you know. And aside that, of course, there's need for more for recruitment of more policemen. But the truth again is that you cannot, you know, really get enough of policemen. Hence, we need to deploy technology. And what am I talking about? For example, my colleague there made mention of the notorious Kaduna-Abuja highway. So what do we need there? Why can't we deploy drones there? For crying out loud. We can afford it. We can deploy drone there on surveillance. Or worst case, we can have helicopters, you know, keeping surveillance on this route. And if worst case scenario, because there are so many villages, for example, the Kaduna-Abuja highway, you have so many villages there. If it means, you know, I mean, kind of finding a final solution that is relocating them away from that highway, such that the crime wave there is reduced. And the same thing goes for the Abuja-Lokoja road, because these are very, very notorious black spots, you know. So the same thing goes in there. You can deploy drones there for surveillance or deploy helicopters there to keep surveillance. So I think this will go a long way in checkmating all the incessant incidents of kidnapping, of banditry, you know, along these routes. Now, to community policing. Community policing, especially at this point in time, it is very, very, very germane, you know. Because, say, for example, in a community, nobody comes in there without the people knowing. They will definitely know that there's a stranger there. And if it's a stranger that is not holy, they will report such presence to the chairman of the security committee within the locality. So I think the issue of community policing is very, very important now more than ever before, okay? And of course, state policing too. So like he said there, I do agree. There's need for us to decentralize the police force. There's need to decentralize the police force. And I'm not stopping at decentralizing the police force. There's also the need, you know, for like a recycling, you know, a recycling, because things have really gone bad. To the average man, he believes that, oh, every policeman, before you even ask him for a bribe, by the body language, he's expecting you to give him something, you know? And then how far can you go with that?
Thank you very much, Colonel Yomidare. I mean, these conversations have to keep on going. There's so much we need to talk about, but unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. I guess the general message here is for people to try as much as they can to, like you said, not sleep with both eyes closed, especially in the coming months. And as much as the Nigerian security operatives will hopefully be doing their part, we also need to do our part to stay safe and hopefully see the new year. Thanks for joining us. We'll take a break and be right back. Please don't go away.